let's go over the triads before we go on to our next example. So it says -2 plus 2. So this is just like our warm-up where I owe someone $2 and then I pay them $2. So I owe them $2. I'm at -2. I add 2, so that's positive, so I go to the right 2. 1, 2. So that's going to be 0. Now I have to start at +4. So 4 plus -5. Negative tells us we're going to move to the right, or sorry, to the left. So I'm going 5 to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I end at -1. So 4 plus -5 gives me -1. All right. So last one we have is, I'm going to erase these so that way we can see it. So we start at -3, and it's -3 plus -3. So -3, and then it says plus -3, so I'm going to go to the left 3. So 1, 2, 3, and that puts me at -6. So if you didn't get those correct, that's totally okay. Hopefully now you know what you did wrong. And we've corrected that mistake in our notes. And now we're going to look at the scoreboard method. So the scoreboard method is how I like to think of things. I told you guys the other day that I'm really into sports. And so I think of them as positive team and the negative team. So in the first example, it says -4 plus -1. So this is like if the negative team got 4 points and then they got one more point because it's -4 and a -1. So the negative team got 4 and then they got one more point. So that gives us a answer of 5 because 4 plus 1 is 5. But the negative team is winning, so we have to put the negative sign in front of them. So that gives us -5. So adding two negative integers results in a negative. I spelled negative wrong. We'll add the I in there. And a negative sum. So the negative team scored 4 points, then they scored one more. So now the negative team, which is why we have the negative here, has a total of 5 points. So let's do another example. Find -7 plus 2. So the negative team has 7 points, and the positive team has 2 points. This kind of looks like a 9, so let's fix this. They have 7 points. So how much is the negative team winning by? So 7 minus 2, so that's going to give us 5. So the negative team is winning by 5. So that adding two integers that have different signs and there are more negatives gives us a negative sum. So again, the negative team had 7 points, the positive team had 2 points. So the negative team is winning by how many points? So to get from 2 to 7, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that gives us 5. And it's the negative team that's winning. Let's look at one more example. So adding two numbers that have different signs and there are more positive results in what kind of sum? So -6 plus 8. So the negative team has 6 points. The positive team has 8 points. So now let's see, like the positive team's winning. They're winning by 2 points because to get from 6 to 8 gives us 2. So 6, 7, 8. So we are 2 away. So we have 2 and the positive team is winning. But whenever we have a positive, we don't actually have to put a plus sign in front of it. So whenever we have more positives, that gives us a positive sum. So that's kind of how I think of it. So here's how the book teaches it. So adding integers with the same sign means that we add the numbers. So we add the numbers. So we're going to add kind of the numbers. We're going to add the actual value of the numbers and then keep the sign. So an example of this is if we have negative 3 plus negative 3. So we have negative 3 plus negative 3. If they have the same sign for both negative numbers, that's not proper notation. So they're the same sign. We have negative and negative. We're going to add the opposite sign. So 3 plus 3, mark it, and then we keep the sign. So we keep the sign which is negative. Adding integers with signs. So we subtract the larger absolute value from the smaller absolute value, and your answer should use the sign, whether that's positive or negative, of the number with the larger absolute value. An example of this, we're going to do two of them. So we have negative 8 plus 3. We're going to subtract 8 minus 3. So 8 minus 3 is 5. And we keep the sign of our bigger number. That's all that's going to do. So another example would be if we had 10 plus negative 2. So subtract the two numbers because one is positive and one is negative. So 10 minus 2 is 8. And then we keep the sign of our bigger number. Our bigger number is 10, so we're going to keep the sign of 10. On the one above it, the larger absolute value number is 8, so 8 is bigger than 3. And so since 8 was negative, our answer is negative. 10 is bigger here and 10 is positive, so our answer is 10. An additive inverse property is the sum of a number and its additive inverse or opposite is 0. So this is negative 3 plus positive 3. So we have a negative number and its opposite for the positive version, and that's always going to equal 0. All right, so look at the examples. So negative 4 plus negative 2. So these are both negative, so they're the same sign. So we are going to use the first rule right here. And it says that we add the positive versions of both of those. So 4 plus 2 is 6. And then we keep the sign of our numbers. And so since they were both negative, we keep our negative. All right, so now we have 5 plus negative 10. These are different signs. So we subtract the two numbers. So we have 5 plus negative 10. So we're going to do 10 minus 5, and that gives us 5. and our number that's bigger had a negative. So my answer is negative. So we have -5. So just like up here it says you subtract the larger from the smaller, so we did that, 10 minus 5. And then we keep the sign of our larger number. So we're going to keep the sign of our -10, and so our answer is negative. All right, let's do example 7. So -12 plus 12, so this is our additive inverse. And so we can also still use the different signs rule if we didn't know it was an additive inverse. So we can say, oh, they're different signs. So we subtract the two numbers. 12 minus 12 is 0, and 0 doesn't have a positive or negative to it. So you can use this rule, the different signs, for additive inverse if you don't recognize that they are additive inverses. But the additive inverse just means when we have a negative and it's positive, it gives us a 0. All right, so you are going to complete the triads on your own, and then we'll check your answers in the next video.